Hello, Mixtresses and Mixters. This is Mixtress Ray. You're watching Mixtress video. And it's time. Sylvain, after he watched my last Earth and Bone opinions video, he referred to me as Salty Steffi. So it's time for another Salty Steffi review. Ethereal Vision. So I'm currently in a phase of putting a lot of things in purgatory, taking a lot of things out of purgatory, shopping a lot online. Thankfully, today is January 31st, and I am spending February off the internet. So, I am going to share with you, the overall takeaway is Ethereal Visions, Luna Edition. Affordable, pretty, usable. Shuffleable, even. Hello, friends. Editing Salty Steffi here. Later the same day. Can you see the warping that's happening here? The two cards that are making it warp are my card of the month that I had on my little stand earlier today. Sorry, I'm doing this one-handed. And the Lover's card that was my card of the week that I had on my stand earlier today. Just by them sitting in this stand for the day, for a little over 24 hours, they started warping terribly. And it's actually not that shuffleable because it gets stuck in a warp pattern. Sounds like Star Trek shit. Hello, fellow Trekkies. And see, it gets stuck bent so that it takes extra hand strength to bend it back. So I've been shuffling it with the fronts up. However, I've already caught a couple of the cards and bent them. So I just wanted to do a little amendment here because I'm about to say that the cardstock in the video, I'm saying that the cardstock is shuffleable and it's not bad, but it actually is bad. I think it's going to only get worse with time. So this cardstock actually sucks. So just wanted to be fully upfront about that. Back to the video. Because it's not on the normal linoleum tile US Games cardstock. However, I have some critiques. I need to get out my notes. I'm recording this video. This is the second time I'm recording this video because earlier I was just so all over the place that I am hoping against hope that this time I will be slightly more organized. We shall see. Remains to be seen. Okay, here we go. So, this deck is okay, so what had happened was Matt Hughes created a tarot deck called Ethereal Visions many years ago. I don't know, 5 years ago? Something like that. 5 to 10 years ago. And he got critiqued for not having any diversity in his Art Nouveau style blingy deck. So this edition is addressing that lack of diversity in the original deck. You now have two options. All the white people or slightly less white people in this version. You have the choice also between the holographic silver of the Luna edition or the gold bling in the original edition. Okay. Let's do, like I did last time, dry facts about the deck. So there are two extra cards. I'm not even going to show those because I'm not using them. The Well and the Artist, if you want to actually see what those look like, or want to see a comparison between the original edition and this edition, other people have done so on the internet. The cardstock is on different cardstock than the normal US Games. It's very does that thing. Like the whole deck, you can bend it. I don't know what that is, but it's shuffleable and it kind of smells good. It's almost similar to, it is not, but it is similar to the Lo Scarabeo the typical low Scarabeo, not the like thick Scarabeo, but the other one. It's shuffleable. The cards are a little big. Let's see, do I have... I believe that this deck is pretty much typical size, so it's a bit taller and a bit wider. It's a little bit of a stretch for my smaller hands to riffle shuffle these to get my hands stretched around them long ways, but I can. So cardstock is okay. It's beautiful, it's affordable, it's usable. That's the takeaway. But, so there's that. Now I'm going to talk about my critiques. Main critique, or one of my main critiques. This is not actually a main, this is a side critique. I am done, maybe this is controversial, I'm done with the thick-ass little white book. If you're not going to discuss the symbolism, the artwork choices in a card's guidebook, just give us a little white book with a few keywords. We don't need all this. We don't need full color representations of the art in the guidebook. We don't need that. Maybe you would want that if this was going to be your only deck. This would be a sweet little set. The guidebook is pretty basic and well written, but I don't want it. It makes the box, the box at least a quarter to half an inch wider than it needs to be. I don't want it. I don't want this. Obviously, people will disagree with me on that. Another thing that pisses me off, okay, if you read this, special thank you to intuitive tarot reader Katsy Roman, blah, 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 blah. Expertise with writing the card meanings and creating amazing spreads. So this is the way that they chose to give credit to the author of this guidebook. She gets no other credit except a special thanks. That's bullshit. Okay. Also, like I said, Matt Hughes got critiqued for not having any diversity in the original Ethereal Visions, and this is his response to that. Let me read you how the guidebook phrases that information. Several of the deck admirers have reached out to Matt requesting a second deck with more diversity. This suggestion inspired the Dreamscape Oracle deck, which allowed Matt to explore that same original Art Nouveau style, but with more diversity and creativity. The overwhelming response that the Dreamscape Oracle received inspired Matt to update the Ethereal Visions Tarot deck with new images. That creative spark yielded the Luna Edition, a revisited version of the Ethereal Visions Tarot deck with more diversity, richer colors, special iridescent silver foil, and 14 new illustrated cards. So, it's extra editions of decks kind of piss me off. At the same time, I recognize that this is a step in the right direction, but I have a lot of critiques and feelings about how the step in the right direction is being done with adding diversity to decks. I don't want to fully critique it because at least something is happening, but I have a lot to say. I'll get into it and I'll start. This will be a full flip through. It's not in order. There is slightly a structure to the order because I'm trying to slightly have a structure to this review. We'll see how it goes. This is my second time recording it. Thank you so much. Okay, so there's that. The last bit about the guidebook before I put it in the box forever and probably never look at it again. Again, not the writer of the guidebook's fault. She was asked to write yet another fucking basic ass tarot guidebook, and she did that. And I have not read very many of the entries. Perhaps it's more insightful than it seems on first glance, so don't take my word for that necessarily. Okay. Dreamscape Oracle and Ethereal Visions decks long to be used together To deliver the messages where the dream time veils part ways and the moon whispers her secrets. Do you want the moon to whisper its secrets to you? Well, then you better also buy the Oracle deck. And maybe also the original deck. Fucking hate that shit. Okay, next thing I fucking hate. These backs. To me, this looks like... Sorry, my ring light is, again, doing the things that it does. To me, this looks like every other shitty slapped together backing. The original Ethereal Visions had an interesting backing. It was a little weird, like with the tone of the deck, but it was interesting. They could have, every single card in this deck was, at the very least, the colors were changed to a more cool, slightly more saturated color palette. They could have done that same thing with the backs of the original deck. I do not understand why the backs are this. This is not a very Art Nouveau style. This looks like a random Etsy slapped together deck. You know, I mean, lots of Etsy decks are good, but this looks like one of the random ones. You know what I'm saying? Okay, there's that. So only 14 cards were changed in this deck. I have intentionally placed them at the end of my flip through, so I will try to talk about other things before I rant about diversity for who knows how long, even though I've already done some ranting about diversity for who knows how long. I will say, again, this deck is beautiful. Okay, here is the only age diversity in women that we will see in the entire deck, and it is in the form of Scary Nightmares in the background of the Nine of Swords. I would like to note that I do, as per usual, have a filter on my video, and my video camera just in general tends to, so this deck, in my opinion, looks much better on video than it does in person. And I think that might be, not on purpose that it looks better in video, but like, this deck was created so that people would be doing flip throughs and you would be seeing the light reflecting off the holographic and you'd be like, ooh, I need to have that. You don't need to have it. It's a pretty basic RWS clone in the Art Nouveau style. For now, I am keeping it and I am happy to have it. But I also have critiques. So because y'all enjoyed my Earth and Bone Salty Steffi review so much, I'm going to bring you this as well. This is still kind of first impressions for me because I have only had this deck in my hands for 24 hours. Pretty much literally, it got here almost exactly 24 hours ago. But I do have a bit of a story with this deck. Okay, first of all, part of the diversity in this deck is this type situation. Like, if you look at the original card in comparison to this one, the guy in the middle doesn't have a deeper skin tone like he does in this image. I mean, it's only a slightly deeper skin tone, but at least there's some variation. But yeah, anyway. Okay, my story with this deck. I don't remember exactly when it came out. The Kickstarter came out, I think it was somewhere around 2.5, maybe even 3 years ago. And I found out about it when it was a Kickstarter, but it was going to be too expensive. Or maybe I found out about it right after the Kickstarter ended or something like that. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I resisted the Kickstarter. But then there was like one of those like backer kit things where you could order it even after the Kickstarter. And I, like every couple of months, I would go back and I would almost buy it. But then I would resist because I knew from the beginning, I just had a feeling, since all of Matt Hughes' other decks are on US Games, that this one would eventually get there. I figured it would eventually get picked up. So I waited. And this is a personal triumph story for me because I literally went back once every month or 2 or 3 months or 4 months, or every once in a while I'd be like, oh yeah, Ethereal Visions Luna Edition, is that on US Games yet? And I would check, and it wasn't. And I almost bought it, like probably 10 times in the last 2 or 3 years. But I made it, guys. I made it. I made it for it to actually, I waited long enough for it to be affordable. And let's be honest, this deck is going, like I said, it's usable. It is going to be appealing to a wide range of people. It's going to work effortlessly well, straight out of the box. If someone gives you this deck as a present and you like the art style, embrace it if you can. But you don't need it. Particularly if you already have one of Matt Hughes' other decks, I see no reason to also get this one. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, what? Let me look at my notes and see what have I not talked about yet. Okay, pretty much everything else that I want to say, I'm not going to say until we get to the diverse cards. But I just want to point out that the advertising of this deck is very diversity forward. So the front of the box, absolutely, this is a gorgeous, beautiful image. This is definitely a Venus deck. This is a beautiful image to be on the cover of the box. I love the cover of this box. I am absolutely seduced by this. But I want you to notice what we are seeing here. We are seeing one of the 14 diverse cards, which some of those are white people. The 14 redone cards in this deck, not all of them are people of color. But we do have an old white dude on this side. But we have the one, actually there's two. The 9 of Cups and the World card both have people that are not skinny. But that's it. This deck is diversity forward, plus that introduction, that thing that I read about, like, you know, the admirers of this deck, just, you know, they loved it so much, but they just needed a little bit of diversity. Here you go. Like, that was the introduction in the guidebook. You know, like, the image on the guidebook is not a white person. The image on the cover of the box, not a white person. One of the other images on the box, not a skinny person. This deck wants you to think, I am beautiful and I am diverse. But you're not going to see any older women. You're not going to see any gay men. You're not going to see very much of anything other than token diversity. And I think we can do better. We as a tarot society maybe need to stop asking old white guys or young white boss babes to be our diversity, to be the people that bring us diversity in decks, right? Maybe we need to stop asking them. This card in particular, like, when I see it in a video, whether it be mine or someone else's, I want to buy the deck. I want to buy the deck. There are around 7 or 8 like older men depicted in the deck. But again, like I said, no older women at all. There's a couple that might be in their 40s. Maybe. And they're the queens. 3 out of 4 queens. One of the queens is, you'll see her later. One of the queens looks like she's 14. So again, we haven't gotten to any of the cards that have been redone. Just so you know, I put them at the very end because I want to talk about them separately. Skin tones have been darkened in lots of cards, including the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Swords. And they're both very similar composition. the images, it's kind of hard to tell the difference between them. Also, okay, so this one we still have the cat, but several of the images that have been redone, like animals were taken out of the new editions. Like, I don't know which one because I never had the first edition, but I watched a flip through earlier today where someone was showing the original in comparison to this one. And like there was an owl in one card that had been taken out. I think it was the High Priestess maybe. And a couple other instances of an animal being like in a court card or something, but when the image was redone, the animal was taken out of the image, and that is sad to me that we lost animals in the second edition. So there are definitely more animals in the first edition. Where's the animal diversity? Okay, yes. So this is possibly the oldest woman you will see in the deck. And, you know, she might be in her 40s, perhaps. But in comparison to her counterpoint, like if they're supposed to be a couple, ew. The pages are all women, I think. And we have one female knight. See, look, do you see how much this is like that Knight of Wands? It's just almost the same composition of image. It's a little, I don't like that. But for the most part, the actual image composition is not super phoned in. But we already got that in. Okay, so we're getting to the changed cards now, a little bit. We're transitioning into the changed cards. So this is not one of the 14 redone cards, but the faces of 2 of the women have been redone. So to my eye, and I may be overlooking something, but to my eye there are 3 Asian women depicted in this deck, in the newer version of it. So this is the only Asian woman in the deck that has eyes. Just a note, I don't know what it means. So, just to show you the other Asian women in the deck. There she is. I want to be clear, both of these cards are beautiful. But, and I get why Justice is blind, but why is the Chick in the Star card blind? I don't know. So another thing this was kind of mentioned in Julie's video about this deck, but it seems like right now the type of diversity that is coming to most decks created by white people, we're getting some pretty typical shit. It's like it's falling into a pattern. We get an Asian person on the Justice card. It's pretty normal. Just to show you, this is the other not skinny person in the deck. We get a thicker woman in the World card. I'm a little disappointed in, like, I like this image. However, in comparison to the first edition of the deck, the World card, the woman was dancing. She was in movement. She looked very joyful. Whereas this woman, I mean, she looks self-satisfied. She doesn't look not joyful, but she's just sitting sweetly. And I kind of miss the movement in the original card. So, I don't know. This particular image could have been a different card. You know, it wouldn't have to be the World. Just, yeah. Also, the Empress, usually Beyonce, in a deck. That is one piece of diversity that we are getting quite often. This is another of the 14 cards that was changed. not diverse, except the fact that we are seeing a woman on a horse. So I think in Matt Hughes' mind, this is diversity. Okay, this is one of the cards that kind of bugs me. Again, we get sort of a tokeny diverse representation. Like, it's nice to see lesbians in the Ten of Cups. However, it seems like that is the place that white people will put lesbians if they're going to put lesbians somewhere. But the thing that actually bugs me about this card, despite the fact that the baby is creepy looking, but that's just, for me, a given with babies. But I mean, it's the shaved head with the baby too. Like, why? Why? Okay. It's the shaved hair, which bugs me. Because it is a modern hairstyle in a deck that is Art Nouveau. It's not supposed to be depicting modern life. It's almost like Matt Hughes said to himself, okay, I gotta put diversity in this deck, but you know, people that aren't white have only existed in modern times, right? So modern hair. It is off-putting. It's only in 2 separate cards. It's the Knight of Pentacles, which we'll get to in a minute, and then this one is like 2 cards with women with shaved sides of their head. It also seems to be like more masculine presenting women, and the way that he depicted that is by shaving the sides of their head. I don't know about that. This is another of the changed cards. I do appreciate like looking to the universe for answers as opposed to an old white dude. So this is definitely improvement over the original Hierophant. But you know what I'd love to see, because the Hierophant is Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. I would love to see Hierophant cards that are more of a beautiful witchy woman energy, because Taurus women are very enchanting, you know, like this could even be a Taurus woman right here. Like, I'd rather see that kind of, that's just my personal, like, I don't like the old white guy Hierophant card, you know. Magician, Emperor. Also seems to be a thing. Black woman on the Strength card. Which, I'm not mad at it, but it just seems like things are falling into a pattern with our tarot deck diversity. It's falling into a specific pattern. This is possibly my favorite of the redone cards. I guess she could possibly be Asian too, actually. This card is beautiful. Okay, here's the other one with the shaved sides of head. Okay. This is where the lack of age diversity is the most evident to me, because this is the King and Queen of Swords. They are supposed to match because we literally have copied imagery with this little, like, altar thing and the whatever shield symbol thing in the background. They at least changed the smoke pattern, but that is exactly the same copy-pasted. Might even be the same as the Hierophant card. But the main gripe that I have here is the fact that if this is the King and Queen, if they're meant to be a couple, if they're meant to match, and since they're sitting in the exact same position with the same shit in front of them, I think they are supposed to match. But this one looks like she's like 15 to me, and he looks like he's in his late 60s, early 70s. You know? Like, why? I mean, that is something that people just really don't talk about, is age diversity. See how these, like, every time I touch these cards, like, meh, 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 meh. Is it the same? That's what I wanted to see. No, it's different. Okay. I thought that maybe this was the same bowl as the one that's in the King and Queen of Swords. Okay. Have I said everything that I wanted to say here? I think so. I'd rather have a little white book than a chunky book if you're not going to... If there's nothing special that the chunky book is bringing, I don't want it. Oh, 2 cards I haven't shown because they're in my little card stand. Lovers and Page of Pentacles. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what else I want to say. I don't yet know. So I've been, like Julie, she said this in her review, I have been looking for an Art Nouveau deck for a long time. I've had several of them and none of them have worked for me. I'm not sure if this one will work for me either. I don't know yet. I've only had it one day. I do think it's gonna work for me in the sense that it's a very RWS deck. It's gonna be easy to read with and it's pretty to look at and I can shuffle it. So likely it'll be a keeper for that reason. But I think it's important for us to also acknowledge what we don't like about things. And I love an opportunity to talk y'all out of buying something. So just so you know, as pretty as this looks on screen, it's not as pretty in person. It's still pretty, don't get me wrong, but the images are much less saturated in person. And for me, I like more saturated images. When I first got Moonchild Tarot, if you guys have ever had that one, I was so fucking disappointed. Because to me, the colors were just super washed out in that deck and I never got over it. I just wanted to bump the saturation up on those cards so bad. They're not terrible. It's definitely more saturated than the original version, but it's still very, very washed out looking to my eyes. Again, I think this deck is going to be effortlessly easy to work with, and it's beautiful, and it's affordable. That's the takeaway. And an attempt was made for diversity. I think we can do better. Yeah, that's the main takeaway. It's snowing outside, guys. It is snowing. I wanted to stick this time. Damn it. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to me bitch about yet another purchase that I have made. I am, like I said, I've been in a reassessment. I've been in very much reassessing my collection and how it all works together. And yeah, I have another deck, 2 other decks actually on their way to me because I bought a couple of decks last week from Amazon, ended up returning both of them, which that's not a habit for me, like buying and returning and like, yeah, I return things when I don't like them, but I typically, at this point in my life, I don't acquire that many decks, but January was a little bit different. I bought this deck, I bought 2 Oracle decks, I bought 2 other tarot decks. One of them I canceled and the other one is going to get to me on Thursday. I've been in a bit of a shopping moment, and I've definitely been doing some shadow work around just asking myself, okay, what triggered me into doing this? Why am I doing this? For me, this is so, I don't even want to say it out loud. It sounds so stupid, but it's the truth. So I'm going to go ahead and say it because you might be able to relate to it. So I had a bit of a snafu with this deck. I actually ordered it only a day after Julie ordered hers. And if you also watch her channel, you might be like, oh yeah, that review was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. She did a review on the deck after having it for several days. And I still didn't get, okay, so I ordered it like 3 weeks before I got it because there was like an issue with the deck ended up getting sent back to US Games because of insufficient address. However, my address on my end in the confirmation email, all that stuff was correct, so it was an issue on their part instead of mine, but they ended up having to send it back out to me again. And from the day that I ordered it to the day that I received it, it was 3 weeks, which not a huge amount of time. However, the fact that I was really craving a new deck, and it was priority mail shipping, which in the United States means that, like, for example, whenever Julie ordered hers, she got it within 4 days of ordering it. And she was all like, and since she had ordered it a day before me, she was just like, the shipping was really fast, you're probably going to get yours tomorrow, blah, 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 you know. But it just didn't happen that way. It didn't happen that way, and it's no big deal, really. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal. But it was a trigger for me because I was expecting it on a Tuesday, and it took a full 2 weeks after that Tuesday before I actually had it. Or slightly less than, because I got it on a Monday. But I was looking at the tracking, and it was, you know, I was obsessing about it. I opened a claim with my post office because I thought, you know, like maybe they had it under a seat and a truck or something, and it just got overlooked or something. So I opened a claim with my post office. Because I was expecting this deck and I hadn't gotten it yet, I was obsessing about the acquisition of a new deck. I wanted a new deck. So I started shopping elsewhere. I started going to metaphysical stores in my town and looking for decks to buy. I started going online looking for decks to buy. That's how I ended up with Earth and Bone, because I wanted something new so badly. And that's not the first time that that's happened to me. In order for me to try to control a situation that was out of my control, I ended up over shopping. So that's something that I've had to recognize. Okay, I do this. This is not the first time I've done this. This is one of the reasons why pre-orders and Kickstarters are not for me, because when I buy something, I want it to be in my hands relatively quickly. You know? In fact, it's usually a bad idea for me to order things online. However, that's the way that I shop most of the time. So it's been eye-opening. It's been stressful and eye-opening, and, you know, to, like, you know, really take the time to sit with, what am I doing right now? Why am I looking for things to buy? Oh, it's because I can't control this situation of, like, a deck being on its way to me and lost in the mail. And in my mind, because of my story with this deck, I'd resisted buying it for years, and it was finally available on US Games. I was finally going to have it in my hands, but then it was just out of my reach again. You know? And so then I started going down the rabbit hole of, okay, so I obviously, like, my shopping addiction is connected to control. Like, I've known this for a while. Like, it's my attempt to control something. It's the same reason that people have disordered eating. It's the same reason why people can get addicted to exercise, can get addicted to alcohol. It's because we feel out of control of some aspect of our lives, and our attempt to control it is through this other thing that we're funneling everything into. You know what I mean? So for me, right now, it's a lot of divination, deck collecting, and also perfume. That's my other big problem. But I have a tendency towards this type of problem no matter what. Like, if I was suddenly quit all tarot deck acquisitions and buying perfume, there'd be something else that would take its place. I really want to stop with the overconsumption. And I mean, I feel like for me, I am enough of an addict that the ultimate answer for me might be giving up YouTube. Giving up watching YouTube. Not making videos, because I will probably still do that, because I have this compulsive need to, like, share my life. which is why I'm on YouTube, why I have a radio show, why I have a podcast, my podcast is mostly about Buffy, so I'm not really sharing a lot of my life there, but I have a compulsive need to talk at length about things that I like and to share my life as well. So I'm not going to be not here, but I need to stop watching YouTube. And I hate that because I've found friends on YouTube, and I hate the idea that I might no longer get to see your videos. But I am triggered so easily into buying decks right now. Like, so much so that a friend and I were talking about this today. We both have this problem. Sometimes I will see a thumbnail of a video. I haven't even clicked on it to start watching it. And it will contain a deck in the thumbnail. Either one that I've thought about buying before, one that I've bought before and gotten rid of. Whatever it is, I will be triggered to looking it up immediately to see if it's affordable, to see if maybe I should get it again. Should I look up a flip through? It's a whole cascade that I'm sure you guys, some of you guys, a lot of you guys might even be familiar with. I hate that I might need to avoid YouTube altogether just to stop buying so many tarot decks, but that might be the answer for me. Because in the last year, just pretty much exactly a year ago, I quit an extra income source job that I had, supplemental income. I quit a job that was giving me $100 a week. So I had to get used to not having that $100 a week. My spending habits have gotten better in the last year. However, I'm still pretty much I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I always have. And if I weren't constantly dropping 25 bucks here, 25 bucks there on either, because both of my obsessions, like my perfumes that I buy are $25 to $30 a bottle. And then the decks that I buy are typically around $25 since I try to stick to mass market because I really can't afford indie. Even though my habits aren't that expensive, and I'm not buying tarot decks every single month, usually. This month is an exception. I'm not buying perfume every month, usually. However, sometimes I do have a month where I go really overboard. And that's part of my process, and I'm trying to accept parts of that and not feel guilty all the time, because feeling guilty does not help me. It helps to a point, but for the most part, it hurts me to just sit around and feel guilty. I need to uncover why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. At the core of it, if I had money, I might be totally happy with buying 2 tarot decks a month or whatever. But I need to start saving, I'm 40 years old. Eventually, I'm not going to want to work at the library anymore. Eventually, I'm not going to have the strength and stamina to have a job that's as active as the job that I have. And if I were saving money, yeah, you guys don't need me to finish that sentence. You know what I mean. But yeah, I am heading into February right now. I might even be making more videos in February just because I will be allowing myself to make and upload videos. My definition of no internet February for me is going to be no social media, no shopping, no YouTube watching. I will still allow myself to listen to music on streaming services. I will allow myself to look up information for my radio show, because sometimes I do research on like discographies of different artists or, stuff like that. I will allow myself to like Google information, to look up things on like Wikipedia, perhaps. Maybe not Google. Maybe no Google searches. I will just stick to Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not a trigger for me, and if I go down a rabbit hole of consuming information on Wikipedia, I don't think that's going to be an issue for me. The main thing is no shopping. No shopping, which means no YouTube, because YouTube leads to shopping. like almost all YouTube at this point is a gateway to shopping. Even this video might be a gateway to shopping for you. And, you know, I hate to be a trigger like that to someone, but it's just too easy. It's just too easy to shop online, and I think it's not good for me. Overall, it's not good for me. Yeah. Anyway, this turned into a whole other thing, but you know, most of my videos do. Thank you for being here. If you made it this far, thank you. Okay. That is all. Goodbye.